Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to celebrate my 200,000 plus subscribers. I am here with Tamika Harris, and she is one of my first clients that found me from YouTube. And the topic tonight, we're going to have several topics. So, this is kind of our run of show that I want to show you guys really quickly. Scheduled for tonight, my first YouTube client, Tamika Harris. Then we're going to have Lender question and answer with Kevin Jefferson. That'll start at around 7:30. Then I'm going to talk about buyer agent compensation. And then lastly, it'll be just ask me anything. So we'll end the night with ask me anything. We have a few things going on as well. The banner on the bottom, go hide that. So my promo code for my masterclass is $20 off. So $20 I can't get $200 off. It's only $97. So you're going to get $20 off only for the next 2 hours. So now until 9 o'clock. So you need to get it in that time. Anybody that buys the masterclass in between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock will be entered to win a $200 Amazon gift card. So we'll do a drawing for anybody that purchases it in this 2 hour period. If you already purchased it, I didn't forget about people that have already purchased it. You know, y'all ride or die. So y'all already purchased it. If you already purchased it, you can give me a review of the masterclass, and you will also be entered into the drawing for $200. So either way, whether you buy it in the next 2 hours, or if you give me a review because you've already purchased it, then you'll be entered into the drawing. So, and all of those links should be in the chat. So if they're not there yet, they're coming. So start putting your questions in the chat. Tamika and I are going to talk, and I'm going to tell you a little bit because Tamika and I have a good story. Tell that story, and then we're going to talk about where she is now. So you may have some questions you want to ask her or me about this. So 5 years ago, so my first YouTube video, you guys, was in 2019. So in 2019, I was just doing Atlanta videos, Atlanta content about how to buy a house in Atlanta. If you wanted to use down payment assistance, I was telling you how to do that in Atlanta. And Tamika was somebody that called me after watching my video. She was just moving to Atlanta from Michigan. She had closed a business, I believe, that she was running in Michigan. And she was, I want to do something new. I'm moving to Atlanta. And at the time, Atlanta had a $15,000 grant down payment assistance. So after 5 years, the $15,000 was fully forgiven. So right now, it's 2024. So in August, her complete grant of $15,000 is going to be completely forgiven. And you only had to put in $1,000 of your own money. So there were credit score requirements. You had to have $1,000 of your own money. And so we were like, okay. Tamika was like, let's go, right? So I gave her the lender. At the time, I've done some videos with Nicole Sutton on the channel. She got pre-qualified, pre-approved with her. And at the time, Tamika had co-signed for, I think, her daughter, right?
Yeah.
And she had her car, her daughter's car. And so she did not get approved for what she thought. And a lot of people can't relate to this. I know. She did not get approved for what she thought she was going to get approved for. And she wound up getting approved for $95,000. I remember that screaming. And she calls me and she said, Shahida, I don't know, I couldn't be able to do anything. I've only got approved for $95,000. And at the time, I was just getting back into real estate. I was teaching, and I was like, let's get it. I said, we can find you. Mind you, this is 2019, before the pandemic. I said, we're going to find you something for $95,000. So we probably were both a little naive, but she was like, let's go. If you're willing to take me as a client, then I'm willing to go for it. So we went looking, girl, we're looking at HUD homes in the rain. Because I told her, I said, if anything comes on the market and it's moving ready, we got to go same day. I said, and this again before the pandemic. So I was like, anything comes on the market under 100,000, we got to get it same day. So we would go to the rain. It didn't matter if it was storming. We were going to get that house. So this one house came on the market, and it was $97,500. $500. And I was like, and somebody the contract had terminated. It was a retired lady who was about to move, and it got back on the market. So we went to go see it the same day. And I told the lady, I said, I need this house. Number one, it was move-in ready. It had new carpet. All the appliances were working. Like, it wasn't for $97,000. So of course, her house, she was only approved for $95,000. So I had to call the lender and say, I need $2 more thousand. You're gonna have to find $2,000. And I'm gonna let Tamika talk too. Sorry, y'all. So, I just want to get the story out. So we found she was able to get her approval up to $97,000. So we made her offer for $97,000, and mind you, she's still getting the $15,000 down payment assistance. That's going to cover the down payment, and that's going to cover her closing costs. So we were able to get the approved. I think maybe they accepted it the next day or so. They accepted the offer. We did the inspections. We didn't ask for nothing. Like, we were just like, let's get in this house. We weren't asking no repairs. The house was honestly in really, really good condition. She had done, kept it up well. And so I want to say this 5 years later, y'all, the house is worth between, right, $250,000 and $250,000 and $285,000. I just looked it up today. So I'm gonna let Tamika talk for a minute. Okay, so let's just talk about this. How are you feeling when you got approved for $95,000?
Oh, so hurt. And I was like, oh no. So I was like, I'm just gonna call Shahida and let her know up front, because I'm like, I don't want her wasting her time. I'm not gonna find anything for no $95,000. But Shahida was like, oh, we can find something.
I was like, we're gonna find it. And it was 3-bedroom, y'all. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was built. When was it built?
3-bedroom, 2.5 baths.
2.5 baths. Excuse me.
Yeah.
2.5 baths.
And a garage.
And a garage. Yep. Yeah. Had a garage too. And it was a townhome, but it's only attached at the storage area. It's not even attached at walls. So it's only attached with like a little overhang or something. Yeah, just a little. Yeah. None of the walls are attached. So it was like pretty much a single family, very close to a single family home. Yeah. So now you're about to be released of this grant. And I say all of these grants have strings attached. But I mean, that's a good string attached, you guys. You only have to put $1,000 in yourself. How much what did you bring to the table besides $1,000? Anything?
I brought $1,000.
No. So $1,000. That was it. I was like, you got $1,000? We're gonna do this. So,
and then I had to scribble to find my checkbook. It was in storage, but I was like, we're gonna get this.
Right. Just how long had you lived here? And that's another thing, you guys, to learn from Tamika. You don't have to be as long as you have employment in the state, you typically qualify for down payment assistance. Because how long had you lived here?
Well, when I got the house, I was here for 8 months. Okay. So when we started the process, it was probably like 6 months?
6 months. Yeah. So you hadn't even lived here 6 months, and you qualified for the down payment assistance. So I want y'all, if y'all have any questions for Tamika, I want you to put in the chat. I have 3 questions I want to ask her. So how has buying your first home 5 years ago now changed your life?
Well, I think I feel secure that I don't have to deal with the landlord as far as, because sometimes I hear a lot of people have to move because the landlord sold the property, or, just anything. Like, you may have to up and move. You never know off the blue. Right. So I feel secure in that. And then I also feel like I like to be able to, I have 2 daughters, right, but my youngest daughter, she's able to like customize her room, hang up lights, do all things like that.
Right.
And then I feel like it's helped me create generational wealth, because I am able to, like you said, my house was $97,000. Now it's worth over $250,000. So with that equity, it's like endless.
Right. And then you, like you said, only had to put $1,000 of your own funds to make almost, close to $200,000, right? And so now she was so inspired by her experience. She got her real estate license herself. You can't see it in this picture, but it says Move with Mika. So she got her real estate license in 2021. I'm gonna go back a little bit. What is your advice for first-time home buyers discouraged? Because you were discouraged at first. And I know a lot of people are discouraged now. Rates are much higher. Home prices are much higher. What do you feel like if you're discouraged? If people are discouraged, what is your advice for them?
I would say look at the picture, like in the long run, because basically buying a house is kind of like a savings account. Well, first of all, with the rates, a lot of people are saying they want to wait till the rates drop, but you really never know what's going to happen with the market. So I'll always say, even like, being a realtor, you, what they say, marry the house, date the rate, because you can always refinance if the rates drop. So that's nothing to really worry about. And as far as a lot of people say they don't want to buy a house because they have to worry about repairs. They have home
warranties.
Home warranties, yeah. And then I always tell people that as much as you pay in rent, most of the time, don't quote me, but most of the time, the mortgage may be a little lower than the rent. But if you were paying that high amount of rent, keep paying it. Just take the difference and put it up for if anything was to go wrong. If you were able to swing that high rent, save the difference. And then, if anything comes up, you should be covered with home warranty and the money that you save. But yeah, I always say marry the house, date the rate, because you can always refinance when rates change.
All right. So last question, because now that you do, last question from me, and then we'll take questions from the audience. For Tamika specifically, you guys, how did you start real estate investing? So now I know you work with some buyers and sellers, but you really turned into starting to work on real estate investing. So how did you start doing it? And what is your advice? Let's just go, how did you start? How did you start investing?
I started investing because doing real estate, I started discovering houses on the market, that sell up for cheap, and all you just need to do is like fix them up and resell them. So I started running across like a lot of those. And for me, being not from here, it was kind of hard for me to drum up customers as being a realtor because sphere of influence isn't that, large. So finding those houses and then seeing how people just fix them up and resell them, I'm like,
I could do that.
So yeah, so basically now I have a group of other investors that I work with, and I was going to go like the hired money route, but then I end up meeting other investors. So we all pull in together. Currently, I'm working on 2 properties. One is already on the market and one we're still working on. But yeah, so we just, a group of investors, we all go in together, and then we all make like decisions on the type of renovations that we want to do. Or the second one, it was a complete tear down. So you work on the drawings for the new, how you want to make it conform to the neighborhood. Yeah. So the floor plans and everything, and we all just make the decisions together. You find contractors, and working with investors, you really meet like a lot of different type of people. So you build relationships with realtors, with contractors, with all different kind of people, and you can make relationships with those to do referrals, or sometimes they'll pay you if they give you a referral, or you get different trade services with each other. So it's really a lot that goes into it, and then you can build relationships with that as well.
Okay, very good, very good. So now I want to open it up. So Tamika's information is going to be in the chat and in the description of this video for everyone watching the replay. I'm putting it in there now. There we go. Tamika Harris. And I remember telling Tamika, I was like, you're going to be able to give this house to your daughter, talking about generational wealth. I said, you could sell it. You're going to be able to refinance it, cash out, refinance, give it to your daughter later. There are just so many options. I was like, just wait these 5 years. And look how quick, literally, these 5 years went fast.
They did. They went really fast. So I'm like, by the time you get comfortable in the house, then you do your little decorations. By the time you look up, 5 years is here.
Right. That's the first, like, okay, you got to wait 5 years. Because what would have happened if she tried to refinance or sell, she would have owed that money or some of it back if she tried to sell or refinance before the 5 years was out, because they want to make sure you're not trying to use it to flip it or use it for investment purposes. So that's why they have those stipulations that they want you to stay in there for at least 5 years. After 5 years, fully forgiven. If not, you have to pay it back. So let's go to any questions. So any questions for Tamika or me? Let's keep it to people that are a little bit discouraged, maybe first-time homebuyer questions, hopefully those of you that logged in heard the story of how we went from 97,000 to almost 285,000 in 5 years. So, all right. MZD said, look at God. Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Audrey said, I love this. Curtis said, hit the like button. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you guys. And congratulations. People are saying congratulations on 2,000K. Thank you so much. All right, let's take some questions. I'm gonna skip the somebody has a credit score question. I'm gonna skip that for right now. L. Brown said, real estate license in what aspect, listing or selling? So I'll try to answer this for you. Once you have your real estate license, you can list homes or you can help people buy homes. You can do anything pretty much on real estate. You want to expand on that at all, Mika?
No, like you said, you can do listings or selling. So it really doesn't matter. And then you can tie that into investing as well, because you can be your own, you can close your own deals.
Yes. So, all right, let's see if there's any other questions. Let's keep it to first-time home buyers. I put Tamika's information up here because if you're interested, a lot of people are looking for guidance. Maybe you, like Tamika, you bought your first house and now you're like, I want to invest. I want to figure out how to do this. And you don't have to have a lot of money up front. Like what Tamika was saying, that she pools her money with other investors that want to do something similar, and they're able to purchase properties. And of course, you don't want to run into this and do it with people that are not trustworthy. So you really, I tell people, don't just jump in and do something without some guidance or mentorship. So if you want to email Tamika or you want to give her a call, and maybe she could help you with it. So let's try to take Sharu C question. I'm looking to buy in the Bay Area. We have 10% down payment saved up. Will the seller look at the down payment when accepting the offer? Should I save up for more or buy now? So the main benefit, other than just a lower mortgage payment, of a higher down payment is potentially avoiding mortgage insurance if you're doing conventional. That's the main reason that people have 20% in their mind. However, sometimes it might make more sense to do FHA because the interest rate is so much lower. So I tell people to get 2 quotes. Get a quote for FHA, get a quote for conventional, and compare long-term, which makes the most sense. And you have to look at the opportunity cost of, if you saved up 10% already, if you wait and save up another 10%, how long is it going to take you? And what else could you have done with that money? Could you have invested it? Because if it takes you 2 years to save up another 10%, where housing price is going to be in 2 years, you may have some regrets and not going ahead and buying when you could. Will the seller look at down payment? Yes. But that usually is not a deal breaker. The seller wants to make sure you can close. So they do look and, on your pre-approval sometimes, or they may ask the lender, how much are you putting down? Or it's usually on your finance contingency. They can see if you're putting down no money, you're putting down 3%, 5%, 20%. And, the more you're putting down, basically it makes you look a little bit stronger because they know you have money, right? Right. You're like, okay, the chances of this falling through because of lack of finances is probably low because they have 20% they're putting down or 10% they're putting down. And I'm sure in the Bay Area, 10% of the average house price, say it's, 700,000 might be $70,000, right? So I think you have to decide on opportunity cost, the cost later, and of waiting, depending on how. Like if you could save up the other 10% in 2 months, then go ahead and wait. If not, if it's going to take you a lot longer, you may want to just go ahead and jump in now. What do you think, Tamika?
I agree. Okay.
All right, let's see. Let me thank you for the question, Sharu. Somebody's asking, when does it make sense to keep renting? And I did a video, LaPortia, hopefully I'm saying that right, on this. To me, it makes sense to keep renting when the rental price is so much lower, right, than the price it is to buy a house. For example, somebody had asked me some months ago on one of these lives, and they were paying $400 a month for rent, right? And that's really cheap. And if the rent in your city is $2,000 a month, then that might not be a trade-off you're willing to make. However, when we talked about stability, and that's what Tamika was saying, you don't know when that rental, whether you're in the house, apartment, is going to go up, when they're going to say we're no longer renting. A lot of people renting from private landlords have been like almost homeless because they were so used to paying. Oh, they were only charging me $900, whatever. Then they decide, oh, we're not renewing your lease, and you have to get out this house. And then the apartments or other houses are $2,000. There's so much more sometimes than what you're paying, and so you don't have that stability. So I think, please watch my video about whether you should rent or buy. I have a full video that kind of explains it a little bit more, but it's really the gap in between how much it costs to live in your state, rent in your state, and how much it maybe costs to buy in your state, and you making that decision. And then if you are saving significantly by renting, you should be investing that difference. You should be doing something with that money. If you're not doing anything with that money, then you may want to buy. But you have to, if you're saving $1,000 a month by renting, hopefully you're investing it in real estate. You're buying some investment property, you're opening up your Roth, or your 401k is fully maxed out. You have to be investing that difference. If not, it really doesn't make any sense. If you're just spending the money, that you're saving on renting, you're really not going to be able to, move forward as far as, building wealth. Anything you want to say on top of that, Tamika?
I agree. And just to piggyback off what you said, I think that if renting is what makes sense, then go ahead with that. But also you should make buying like a long-term goal, because at the end of the day, you're paying someone else's mortgage. And, that's not leaving anything for you or your family. And like I said before, buying a home is basically like a savings account. Like, in my situation with me starting off at $97,000, if I was to sell, next month, after my 5 years.
Not selling. Yeah, so if anybody's watching this, she's not selling or doing anything with that house until you close on. I looked it up today. You closed on August 7th. So anytime after August 7th, check that deed. You'll be able to sell.
Yeah, but look how much money I will have. I will get my money back, and then some. So, that's a goal for buying a home. Right. But when you're renting, you're paying someone else's mortgage, and that's going to be money in their pocket.
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much for that question. Dr. Dre, that's not the real Dr. Dre. I don't like Dr. Dre, but okay. You look good, though. You look good. Okay, question. Is it true that when you buy your first house and stay in it for 3 years and use a first-time buyer assistance, you can buy another house and qualify as a first-time buyer all over again? For the most part, but let's say it correctly, because most of the time for most programs, and I'm saying most, you're considered a first-time home buyer as long as you have not owned a home in the last 3 years. So you cannot currently own a home. So let's use Tamika as an example. So she stayed in her house for 5 years. She would have to sell this house and not own a house for the next 3 years to qualify for any other type of down payment assistance. Okay. You can't just, I lived in it for 3 years and I'm going to buy another house, because they try to avoid you buying homes that you're not going to own or occupy. Down payment assistance programs are not for investors. And all the rules are typically to avoid people investing. However, it is an investment for you. You just have to know that you have to own or occupy it for a certain amount of time, right? So what you're saying is partially true. The main rule is you cannot, in order to be considered a first-time home buyer, usually you cannot have owned a home in the last 3 years. So say you owned a home in 2010, then you sold that house in 2015, you rented for a little while, and now you're ready to buy now. They would probably still consider you, for the most part, a first-time home buyer. If you own a home already and trying to use down payment assistance programs, you may not qualify because you can't own or occupy 2 residences. Okay. I hope that made sense for everyone. Thank you so much. All right. Somebody put, so you have to have a 3 year, you're asking the same question. So you have to have a 3 year gap between the time you last owned and buying. Yes, in most cases. Okay. NACA might be one of those exceptions. I believe NACA is not true down payment assistance. It's a whole program, but NACA is one of the places, I believe, if y'all could say I'm wrong in the comments if you know for sure, that as long as you don't currently own a home, you may qualify for NACA. Okay, if you don't currently own a home, you may qualify for NACA. That's the only exception that I'm really aware of, that you may not have to wait 3 years. All right, so let's see if there's any other questions for Tamika. All right, Tamika, so you have one house on the market that you guys that you've invested in. What I want to say, I'm going to say something else. One thing I want to say, what's kind of funny, when we're talking about, let's talk about underwriting for a second. What I remember, and this is 5 years ago, but I remember the underwriter asking you to give them a receipt that you paid off your taxes, because I think you owed like $300 or something like that on your last tax return. And you had to go to the IRS. Like, we were supposed to close like the next day.
Yeah.
And the underwriter was like, well, we need proof that you paid your taxes. And you're like, I paid them. So tell them about that story.
Yeah, so because sometimes they ask you for stuff twice, or sometimes they ask you at the last minute. So and then with me not being from here, I'm like, oh my goodness, so I was like, I'm going. I was like, and then so when I went, they were like, oh, I can get it the same day. So I'm like, oh, thank you so much. But yeah, so I had to go to the IRS office to get that and to prove that I paid it off. They didn't take my word. I had to have proof.
Right.
And also so I got the house like in August. So in my youngest daughter's birthday is in June. So like her dad had Zelled me money for her birthday, and they were questioning like,
where that Zelle coming from?
I'm like, Thomas, well, I have to prove that it was a gift and it's not a loan. So at the end of the day, they just want to make sure that you're able to pay this back, that you don't owe people. So you may have to show like proof of little things. So.
Right. Don't let that discourage you. They do it to everybody. And I feel like sometimes, especially sometimes us in the Black community, we feel like we're always picked on. Like we're picked on. They ask more questions. And so a lot of times, sometimes people ask me, are they just asking me, or are they asking everybody this? Like, why are they asking me all these questions? Like I have people asking me legitimately, like, okay, why they feel like they're being asked more than other people would maybe be asked. And I think sometimes as people of color, like we have our defenses up, that people ask us more, they ask us for more detail, but you just have to get through that, and you have to just keep on, give them what they're asking for without getting, aggravated, that sort of thing. They ask, they're petty underwriters. And a lot of times they just want to have it in their file. Right. They want to say if they're ever audited or anything like that, they want to say, oh, no, we asked them for proof. We have the proof right here. Right. Of, what was happening. So it's going to be our last question. OK, let's see. Somebody answered my NACA question. It says with NACA, if you have a house, you're required to sell the home to go through the NACA program. So that makes sense, but you don't have to wait 3 years. As long as you don't currently own a house, you should be able to qualify for NACA. So that's good. All right, let's end with this, Tamika. I'm sorry, I'm covering up your face and mine too. Let me read this real quick. It says, Yiska, I'm a first-time home buyer. I'm nervous about the large, sudden expenses in home ownership as a single woman. Would it make sense to start with a small mobile home? It just seems safer and cheaper. Laughing out loud. Okay. So let me put that. Okay. What do you think? So first, I'll let you talk as a single person. I'm going to talk about the mobile home as an option. Were you nervous about the extra expenses that might come up?
Yes, I was nervous about the extra expenses. However, like I was saying, as much as I was paying in rent, I was like, whatever, I can just save that difference in case something comes up. So I think because you got me with the home warranty.
That was one of my closing gifts.
Yes.
And I would say this, and I go back and forth. Home warranties cover small things. They're not going to replace your HVAC and that sort of thing. But she had an electric stove. And one of the burners, was it the oven or the burner?
The oven.
So I think the inspector at the time, the inspection said that the stove was good. But when she got into the house and started cooking, the stove top was working, but the oven was not working. So as one of her gifts, I used to give all of my first-time home buyers, don't quote me on this anymore, but I used to give all of my first-time home buyers a home warranty as part of their gift at closing. So little things would be covered, and they did cover that, to get the oven working or repair. Is it still working, or you had to replace it now?
No, it's still working.
It's still working, see?
Yeah.
So if you're worried about little things, then a home warranty will cover that. And then we did an inspection, and in the inspection, everything was pretty much in good condition. Like the lady that lived there prior, I believe she lived there by herself. So, there was less probably wear and tear on some of the house. But I would say about the mobile home. So I agree with affordability. Clearly, she did this affordably, right? So affordability is important as a single person to make sure it's something that you could, easily afford. Like I said, the reason why she didn't qualify for as much because she had her daughter's car. She had co-signed for her daughter, but her daughter was, if I remember correctly, paying the car payment. You weren't actually paying.
Yeah, so that was another thing about the documents that they asked for. So I'm like, I'm not gonna find nothing for $95,000. So like, well, can I have her write something saying I'm not responsible for the note? They're like, no.
So remember, if you co-sign, I say don't co-sign for anybody if y'all can avoid it. Whoever you co-sign for, that's going to be your debt. As far as your debt to income ratio. So Tamika was saying, I don't even pay the car payment. My daughter pays it. So she still had wiggle room because they only qualified her as if she had that car payment, right? So there was some wiggle room there. So just make sure you're buying in your budget. I'm not a big proponent of mobile homes because number one, a mobile home is like buying a car, right? So because they can move, you have to buy a mobile home and you have to affix it, like attach it to the land in order for it to be real estate for the most part. So a lot of times, if you keep it as a mobile home, they generally don't go up in value because you don't own sometimes the land underneath it, or it's not affixed. Like you just have a VIN number. If you buy a mobile home, it comes with a VIN number. It doesn't come with a deed and all that kind of stuff necessarily, right? You have to get it affixed to your land. It's all about taxes because if you can move a house, then they can't tax it properly. So they don't tax it as real estate. They tax it as a car. So when you're buying a mobile home, if it's going to go up in value, you really have to fix it to the land, and it has to be in a good location. But they don't go up as much as single family homes. So I would look into down payment assistance programs in your state. I would look for more affordable homes. I would look, depending on where you live, if you're by yourself and you don't have that many children, maybe you're going to get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or, something that is more affordable, but it gives you a starting point. The whole thing about this with starter homes, are they dead? Because a lot of investors like Tamika and I are buying up a lot of these starter homes. So you're competing with investors, but you still have to get in there and be able to still stick to your budget. Just because everything's more expensive doesn't mean, well, I got to just buy, spend 50-60% of my income on a house. You're going to have to fight. Just like me and Tamika was going through those.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I lost myself for a second. Can you hear me now? Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Just like Tamika and I were going through the rain and that sort of thing, trying to find her something in her budget. You're going to have to find you an agent that's willing to go head to head and say, we're going to find something in your budget and something that is going to be, because we were trying to, and my thing was, it has to be move in ready. I kept on saying that. Like, we're going to find something for $95,000 and it has to be moved in ready because, you couldn't rehab and all that kind of stuff. So that's my advice. I'm not a big mobile home proponent. However, some states are a little bit different than others, and it might, hold its value. But do your research on mobile homes.
And I think that a starter home is a starter home. Just get what you need. Right. And then if you do go in a program, 5 years, I'm pretty sure you'll have equity in there. And then you can take the equity and get what you really want. So.
Yes. Well, we're gonna have Tamika in 5 more years. She's gonna be in some mansion somewhere on a hill. And we're gonna talk about 97,000 to multi-million. We're gonna talk about Black Enterprise and Forbes and all of that. So any closing words, Tamika? So I think Kevin just joined us.
Well, just like we say, the program, they are real. They may have some stipulations, but once you have a good realtor, they should know, all the stipulations, and they're not nothing horrible. So I'm a witness. The programs work, and I believe, like a first-time home is a first-time home, and it's beneficial because like my plan with me investing, I started off with other investors, but now you know, I've had that experience. So I do plan on using my equity to start investing. I can do investment properties like on my own. But I did get the experience, you know, going in with other investors. But now once I be able to access my equity, then I'm really going to go off on my own and start investing more. So it's worth it. You just have to do it right. Have a plan.
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much, Tamika. Thank you for being my first YouTube client. You're always going to be in
Thank
my
you for having me.
Shahida Hill Hall of Fame.
200,000.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And all of Tamika's information, whether you're here live or on the replay, is going to be. So if you needed help investing, you're scared to do your first investment, you know, deal, then Tamika is the person you should talk to because she genuinely is walking through it herself. And you may need that mentorship. Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, you guys. Okay, so before I bring Kevin, you know, Kevin's y'all favorite lender. So I'm about to bring Kevin to the stage. I want to remind you that if you buy my masterclass only from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you have to buy it within this live. It's going to be $20 off in between this live. And everyone who buys it could be 10 people that buy it, could be 20 people that buy it, could be 100 people that buy it. But go ahead and buy the masterclass, $20 off. You're going to be entered to win $200 Amazon gift card. So purchase it now. If you already have my masterclass, you've been with me from the beginning, you already have it, then I want you to leave me a review. And I have the review link here. Let me make sure I'm posting it there. This is the review link. You can leave me a review. You'll also be entered in to win $200. So either one, make sure you're doing that. And I'm going to play my video and then we're going to have Kevin. Are you looking for guidance on the first-time homebuyer process? And are you tired of those first-time homebuyer guides that leave you with more questions than answers? You are not alone. Most of those guides provide basic definitions and explanations because they're afraid to dig deeper because they don't want to give you too much information because then you may question what they're doing, your inspector, your agent, your lender. But what if you could become a confident first-time homebuyer armed with knowledge and clarity? Introducing my first-time homebuyer masterclass and confidently closed digital handbook. Join thousands of successful homebuyers who have unlocked the secrets to a seamless home buying journey. My comprehensive resources include a step-by-step masterclass, exclusive confidently closed digital handbook and sample documents, and a bonus new construction mini masterclass and checklist. You're not going to find this organized like I've organized it anywhere else. Our 9-step video masterclass, explainer videos, and 40-page digital handbook will be your trusted companion through the home buying process. Don't let the complexities of home buying overwhelm you. Invest in your education today and make confident decisions from the start. Check my reviews and the thousands of people that I have helped confidently buy their first home. All right, so thank you. Remember, so go ahead and win that. Get your $20 off. Remember, only for 2 hours, 7 to 9 p.m. If you already purchased it previously, just leave me a review and you'll also be entered to win. All right, thank you so much. Now we have Kevin. And so I'm going to let Kevin answer some of y'all questions that we didn't. So I will go back up into the questions to see. Those of you that got here early. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good, good, good. All right, so Kevin, tell them who you are for people that don't know. Who's Kevin Jefferson?
So Kevin Jefferson, aka the People's Lender. I am a mortgage loan professional. I'm able to serve clients in all 50 states. Some of my bread and butter is first-time home buyers. However, if you're looking to refinance, pull out a line of credit, or if you're looking to get into investing, I can help you in that avenue as well.
Okay, very good. And Kevin and I have one of my most popular lives that we did Black History Month, probably 2 years or a year and a half ago at least. And it was all about the pre-approval process. So if you're not familiar with Kevin, please watch that video. It's under my live tab. All right, so Kevin, I'm gonna get some water, but I'm gonna let you answer this. And Kevin has some giveaways. So I know I kind of ran over with Tamika a little bit, Kevin. So we're gonna be here to about 8:10. That sound good? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna have this question up. So the question is, Kevin, will one buyer's FICO score, and this is from Tony. Hey, Tony. Will one buyer's FICO score, they have 651, affect a home purchase with a mom and dad as buyers also with 800 FICO scores for a Texas property? So basically, with that low credit score, lower, it's not super low. 651 is like decent. Will the 651 FICO impact their 800 scores and give them a lower rate? What do you say, Kevin?
So when you're looking to buy a property, they can always go with the lowest middle score. So if you have the lowest middle score of a 651, it's going to affect the interest rate, right? That's how the rate is priced based off of that lower credit score at 651. Now, the 800 credit scores help with the overall profile. And I'm assuming that the 800 credit score is their mom or dad, then they may not have as much income as the 651. So even though the score is lower, they kind of offset each other in terms of the scores and the income.
Okay. So let me tell you this. Y'all can't use people's income and not use their credit. I think that's a bottom line thing that people need to realize. And that goes with, this is a parent, child situation, but it also goes husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, however y'all doing it. They look at typically the lowest person's credit score. Now, doesn't conventional, are they averaging credit scores, Kevin? Conventional?
Yeah, with conventional financing, the system, when you input it into the system and you run DU, which is desktop underwriting, it averages the score, but in terms of pricing out what the interest rate is going to be, it's still going to be based off of the lowest of the middle scores.
Okay, so, but I don't want you watch our video about pre-approval. Still, don't wait until that 651 goes up. Like you don't recommend that. Like them try to get the 651 up. It depends on how long it's going to take them. Right? It may not be worth it.
Right. It may not be worth it. Tell you a story. Had a client, it was years ago, who had a 6-something credit score, was like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I get a 700. Well, 700 credit score isn't as easy as people think it is, right? Because life happens. And, getting the 700 credit score at the time would have helped her some in terms of the interest rate, because at that point, the discount points wasn't the real big problem. It was just like the interest rate. So it was probably a year later, she came back. She didn't have the 700 credit score, and she ended up paying the same amount because rates had increased. So she waited. Two things: rates increased and housing prices increased. So now her mortgage, even though the score was a little better, she's paying more money because rates increase and the housing prices increase. So don't wait.
Don't wait. Try, if you can qualify, like you said, it may not make sense for you to wait to get your credit to a certain point if prices are going up and interest rates are going up. All right, Curtis Jackson. This is my Curtis Jackson is my birthday twin. My birthday is August 31st. So, and Curtis Jackson has been in the comments probably at least 2 or 3 years. And so we're waiting for Curtis Jackson to buy his house. He said, should I buy a house that's a short sale? So a short sale is like right before a foreclosure, right? So this is somebody who's behind on payments and they're asking the lender to take less for their house and to kind of just let them off. Now, a short sale still messes up on the seller side. A short sale is still going to mess up your credit. It's almost as bad as the foreclosure. You can tell me if it's as bad or not, but it's significant because you have to be significantly behind on payments for them to allow you to do a short sale. So on the buyer side, should you do a short sale? Maybe, but normally they take a little bit longer to get done in my experience. So, because you have to wait for the bank to approve the sale, the contract, the price, all of those things. So you may be able to get a deal if you do a short sale, Curtis, but it's probably going to be a longer process. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it is, because you've got to have, in order for us to get the final approval, you have to have approval from the actual bank. And what a short sale is, essentially, it's not the process being short, it's the bank being shorted funds. So if they're going to be shorted funds, there has to be an approval. So, in order if the house will pass FHA, VA, USDA, or conventional financing, whatever you're going to do, that's fine. But in order to get through and get an approval, the bank who has that particular mortgage has to approve it in order for us to approve it on our.
All right, very good, very good. All right, so let's see. So we have your short sale question answered. Let's answer. I already answered that question. Sorry. This one's Danielle. I'm looking to buy a second home, but need to sell my first home to get a second one. Do you see any downside to doing a contingency contract for my current home in order to get another home? All right, so let's talk about two things on this one, Kevin. Does somebody have to sell their first home in order to buy their second home? Do they have to?
Not necessarily. If the person has the ability to qualify with both mortgages, that's one route. If you have the ability to come up with the down payment for the second home, and you could potentially rent out the first home, and you can get a lease that shows enough funds to offset that first mortgage, that's an option as well.
Okay. But if she is going to sell, let's say on the real estate side, if you are going to sell your house and buy another house, you can do it contingent, meaning you go under contract on the second house that you want to move into, but it's contingent on your house selling, right? Otherwise, if your house doesn't sell, you can back out of the purchase contract. You can do this, but you have to also you have to find a seller that is willing to do this. And usually, in my experience, it's sellers that are having trouble selling their home. Sometimes that they're willing to take a contingency contract because they don't have a strong contract because they have to wait for your house to sell in order for you to buy it. And a lot of times they don't want to go under a contingency with you until your house is under contract. And they want to see the contract to know, okay, well, you're scheduled to close on this date, then you can close on my house on this date. So sometimes it's easier to go under contract with a contingency once your house is already under contract. Hope that makes sense. Anything you want to add to that, Kevin?
No, I think you answered it perfectly. I will say that in those contingency situations, I know in some states they have a 72-hour kickout clause, which means that, okay, we'll take your contract contingent upon you selling it. However, if someone comes in and gives us a better offer, you've got 72 hours to take that contingency out, or we can kick out your contract and put the other one in. I know for sure they have that in Delaware and Maryland. I'm not sure if it's here in Georgia.
They have it in Atlanta too. Yeah, so that's a very good point. They do have it in Atlanta. All right, so let's talk about capital gains. And we are not accountants. Let's make that disclosure. We're not accountants. But let's talk about Tamika's situation because we're talking about her making close to $200,000. As long as you've lived, this is like a tax law. As long as you've lived in the house 2 of the last 5 years, then you are exempt from capital gains. So anything you've gained on that house, for one person, it's $250,000. For 2 people, 2 married people, it's $500,000. So if she decides to sell that house, if you didn't watch my first interview with Tamika, please go back and watch the replay. But if she decides to sell that house, she shouldn't have to pay any taxes on the gain of that. So as long as you've lived in the house 2 of the last 5 years, you should be exempt from capital gains up to $250,000 for one person, married couple, $500,000. Anything else on that one, Kevin?
No, I think you covered it. But yeah, capital gains. If so, I do want to say something. Someone asked me that question. How do they know?
I love the how do they know question. We need to do a video just on how will they know.
How do they know that we stayed there for 2 years? Somehow they do.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't, you know,
Don't
I
try
would
to.
talk to an accountant about it, a tax preparer, or somebody specializes in it, but they're going to know. One thing I think is, yeah, you might have had it for 2 years, but if you filed taxes and you didn't put that on your taxes as the address, that's the way they know you weren't there for 2 years for sure.
And when you sell that house in most states, they're going to have you fill out a tax form at closing, signing that you live there, like when you lived there, and did you live there for 2 of the last 5 years. So, they're trying to catch you on those fraudulent things. So don't get caught out there. It's not worth it. It's not, I mean, you could have rented it for 3 of the years and lived in it for 2 years and you're still exempt. And there are some exceptions. I'm not a tax professional, but sometimes if you're moving, if you were relocated for work and that sort of thing, you may be exempt as well. So just check with your tax preparer ahead of time. Because I've had a lot of people that, not a lot, but 2 or 3 people that had to sell before the 2 years were up. And they said they didn't have to pay taxes because of the reason they had to sell. So check with your tax preparer. All right, I'm gonna let you answer this one, Kevin. Okay, Kevin, before we answer this one, what about your giveaways?
Cool. So
Talk about the giveaways.
Yep. So I've got a couple of giveaways for you guys today. One of the biggest giveaways is I'm going to be giving away Shahida's course.
Okay, let me say this, Kevin. These are the rules for this. I want to make sure you have to buy it. So you have to buy it tonight between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. And then Kevin is going to give you a credit. So you'll get a refund. He's going to choose one person to refund the course to. So you have to don't wait to win it. You have to buy it and then you'll get a refund of it. So, and all of those links are in the comment. So you can win and get a credit, meaning you're going to get it absolutely free from Kevin. And then he has 2 more things he's going to give you.
Yep. So that we're getting ready to release is student loan debt, no problem. How to successfully secure a mortgage with student loan debt. So
leave it up, Kevin. Leave it up. Student loan debt, no problem. How to successfully secure a mortgage with student loan debt. So you're giving away that book. How many of those are you giving away?
Give away one.
Give away one. Okay, good. So who's gonna win that? How do they win it?
So how you win it will be, I'm going to put a link in the chat for you to, you have to go in and you have to provide your real name, your real email address, and real phone number, because that's the only way I can contact you to let you know that you won.
Okay.
So what'll happen is once I get all the names from that list from anyone who subscribed tonight, then I will put it on a virtual wheel and it will select the winner. The second thing I'm going to give away the third thing I'm going to give away is a home ownership journal. This journal here was done by myself as well. It's solid from A to Z, everywhere from questions to ask your lender, from your budget, questions that you ask to interview each one of your realtors, questions to ask your realtor that you select once you have the home, a place for you to take notes on each home. Well, unless you want to look at 50 homes, or homes that you need to look at, and even down to, hey, I've secured my home. Let me put in who the electric company is, who the gas company is, HOA, and the numbers. So you have somewhere to take notes. You don't have to write it on the back of your MLS sheet. You don't have to try to remember it. And then when you have a conversation with your lender, you can write down questions and the answers to those questions. And when you're interviewing your realtor, or if you're getting feedback from someone to recommend you a lender or realtor, you can take those notes as well and always go back to them and, just go back over the information to make sure it matched what you remembered, what was said.
All right, good thing. Okay, so student loan, how to secure a house with student loans, and the other one is their home ownership journal. Go ahead and put the link in the chat. You didn't put it in there yet, right? Okay, so he's gonna put that in the chat, and then I'm going to go to the next question. And I saw it was like 401k, so I have my 401k question. Okay. Jamila, and I'm going to answer this question. Then I'm gonna have Kevin put what his thoughts are. We may have differing thoughts on this. So I think you can borrow from your 401k to purchase a home. However, there's usually penalties that come with that. And I want you to know what those penalties are. Not only are you're not going to have the advantage of the long-term growth, depending on how much you're withdrawing from your 401k, but there may be penalties as well that may come along with withdrawing from your 401k. I know a lot of people did it during the pandemic because they stopped some of those penalties. So a lot of people were borrowing from it to get the down payment. So I think the amount matters, the penalty matters, all of that matters. And what will be the result of you taking that money out, because you're not going to be able to get that growth in your retirement. So I'm not a big fan of it, but I think if it works without so much hardship on your retirement goals, then you may, you have to decide whether or not you want to do that. So Kevin, what do you think? Should I borrow from my 401k for a down payment? I would rather you use down payment assistance if you could than to do this. So I want you to research it and look at all of your options before you do this. But go ahead, Kevin.
So for me, I think if it's an option to do, I'm a proponent of doing it. If it's between down payment assistance, 401k, or renting for another year, I'm gonna say 401k, down payment assistance first, 401k next. The problem that I see people in terms of the down payment assistance, if it's not a municipality or a state or something that has the traditional rate, then people say, oh, the rate's too high. It's a trade-off. You can go at the higher rate and it saves you money and you're still earning money in your 401k, or you could take out a loan from your 401k and pay yourself back with interest, or you can withdraw it. It's something that, to me, I think you should do it. That's, my professional opinion, as opposed to waiting, because you're probably not going to be able to save for the down payment. And then if you're waiting for rates to go down and then doing a down payment assistance program, something else is going to increase. So I'm for using the 401k, whether it's withdrawal or a loan.
Okay. Does it matter how much they're withdrawing?
So with a loan, from experience, you can only take out a certain amount. In terms of withdrawal, and you can usually take out more money.
Yeah. All right. So you have this is a starting point. I think you should do your research, know the penalties, know all that stuff, and see what makes the most sense. All right. Let's see. Carla says, what do you say to those who have the credit score to buy and some down payment, but the housing market has increased where you can't afford what you could a few years ago? So basically inflation, homes, like I said, we started out, I don't know how much you got of Tamika and I, but Tamika bought a $97,000 house in 2019. That house right now is probably worth between $250 and $285. So, that's how much things have gone up, right? So what do you feel? She asked specifically, they have the credit score, they have some down payment, but it doesn't buy them what it used to buy them. What is, go ahead.
You have to start somewhere. I think we've gotten away from starting homes, and I think realistically, social media has killed a lot of people's dreams, because everybody, like for instance, if you're a single mom or dad or grandmom, grandpa, and you're looking to buy a house, why do you need 5 bedrooms, 3 baths? Like realistically, why do you really need that right now? And push yourself to the max in terms of paying the mortgage, right? I would say look at the starter home like Tamika did and work your way up. What people don't understand is how people move up is you buy the starting home, you potentially can sell it, take the equity from that property that you gain and put it on the next house, rinse and repeat. Okay, I want to hold on to this starter home because prices may not ever get this low, and it would make a good opportunity for a rent. That's great. Now, ahead of time, you can refinance, pull out some equity to make sure numbers still work. Take that equity that you've pulled out and use it as your down payment to buy your new home, and you still have the other one that you can rent out. but I think that we have lost what a starter home looks like. I started out in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Like, that's a starter home. Like that, if it's 3-1, that's a starter home. You don't have to be there forever. You don't have to be there for 30 years. Heck, if you put down your own money, you can stay for 1 year, put yourself on a plan, and go to the next one. Multifamily, if you can find one in your area, live in one unit, rent out the other units. After a year, rent out that fourth or third or second unit and go on to the next property. But I think we forgot that our starter home doesn't have to be the forever home, 5-bedroom, 3-bath. Doesn't have to be that.
With quartz countertops, white, and nice flooring, and a huge backyard. Instagram is killing y'all, your potential wealth. It really is. Because I didn't used to even get on Instagram, and I have like a little local Instagram now. And so I see like more of the real estate things, and everybody has these beautiful homes. I see these moms that have like, I guess, mom Instagrams. Their kids are dressed so well. They're in their kitchens. Their refrigerators are organized so well. That's their business. You have to remember that. That's their business. They are like, they have to curate their home to make it look perfect. So you desire it and you want to buy what they have. But that's not a true plan for you specifically to build wealth. I work with buyers all the time, and their aesthetic, what they're looking for is what they see on HGTV, is what they see on Instagram, and it may not be in their budget. And sometimes if you're buying up to your max, and most people do, because the things that are below their budget are not aesthetically, it's nothing you can show off. People are not coming to your house. I remember when I got married, how you register for stuff. I'm going to have dinner parties and I'm going to do all of this stuff. People are not coming to your house. You want people to have a comfortable experience at your house. You want to have friends and family over. Your true friends, your true family. You don't have to impress that much. You know what I mean? So I want you, even kids sharing rooms. I didn't get my own room until I'm from New York. So, I mean, it's a different housing, everything. But I didn't get my own room until I was 14. I was going to the 11th grade and I was super excited to get it. But I didn't get it till I was 14. Some of y'all, everybody has to have their own room, their own bathroom. Where do they do that? Like, really, you have to be realistic as to what you can afford. Look at some of those starter homes. Look at some of those homes that, don't look the best. Paint them. If they have only cosmetic things that need to be upgraded, you really should be looking at that. I'm with Kevin on that. If you can afford the payment, it's reasonable with your income, then get into a house. Hopefully a house in a good neighborhood where it's going to increase in value. And I say that my sister, and I've done a video with her, she did down payment assistance. She had to do $1,500. It was in the city of Atlanta. It's probably $150. Now it's worth like $400,000. You have to just get in. You have to get in where you are. And she's a single parent. She bought it by herself. We have to get in somewhere. And I'm telling you, when she moved, we were like, why are you buying that? Why are you moving there? Like, we were like downing her on the group chat. We were like, why are you moving that? Why are you moving there? All the rooms were different colors. One was orange, one was pink. It was crazy, but it was an excellent investment. All right, so let's go on to the next question because I talked a lot. What'd you say?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
So in the comments, I'm reading the chat. You're right. Starter homes in certain parts of the country aren't starter home prices anymore, right? And that's true. Real estate is relative to where you are, right? Some of the things that you got to understand is if you're looking for top school districts, convenience to locality of shops, places to eat, things to do, you're going to pay more. Like you're going to pay more for those amenities. That's what you're paying for. That's what you're paying for. For my folks in Atlanta is now the number 2 most overpriced city in the United States, right? But thing of it is, I'm from Delaware. I moved to Georgia, and nobody in Delaware knows where Decatur, Georgia is. So they say, oh, you moved to Atlanta. You probably go to Atlanta 3 times a year, and I've been here 9 years, and it's for something. Like, you gotta understand that in Georgia, there's great school districts all over the place in Georgia, and there are each city and municipality is doing so much so that you have those different amenities. Sometimes you gotta leave where you are to be able to afford. Would you rather rent in Atlanta for $2,500 a month to say you live in Atlanta, or would you rather go to Jonesboro or Douglasville and rent for a little less and then just commute into Atlanta? So, like, those are some of the things you have to do. I've seen people move from California to Georgia because they said I could never afford a house in California. I've seen people move. I've helped the lady move from California to retire into Houston, and we think Houston's high. So it's relative to where you at, depending on prices. But I understand what you guys mean. I just mean you don't have to have all those bedrooms and baths if it's over your budget. Just start somewhere. The less room you got, the less people who want to come stay with you.
All right. And I want to say this too. I think because it's like almost whiplash, right? Because things happen so quickly. Like I said, 2019 homes were one price. 2020, 2021, they drastically increased faster than your incomes increase. But I also want that to be a wake-up call to a lot of you. You can't just wait. People aren't going to meet you where they are. I don't care what any politician says or anybody says. Just because things are more expensive doesn't mean, well, I have to wait for things to come down. I want everybody to assume that it will never come down. You need to make that assumption that these are the prices. If it does, great, but you can't have the mindset of, I have to wait for a crash for me to afford something. And I think a lot of first-time home buyers say, I'm waiting for it to crash so the home prices match my budget. You may have to say, I need to increase my income so my income matches how much things cost. And I know that's easier said than done, but a lot of us have to. And even I've been very honest. When I started YouTube, I was making $70,000 as a teacher. And, I was comfortable. It was a stable job, but I also knew the most I'm ever going to make if I keep on teaching is what's on this salary schedule. I'm only going to make $70,000. So in order for me to make more than this, I have my real estate license. I had to start using it. I had to get out there. I had to make more money. And this is before the pandemic, before inflation. I knew that I had to start making more money. So either you have to, if you're going to stay in these expensive states, and a lot of you live in expensive areas, if you're going to stay, like you said, in the city of Atlanta, if you're going to stay in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Chicago, where's expensive places? California. If you're going to stay in those places, you better stay. I got to increase my income if I'm going to build wealth. Otherwise, you're just going to be, paying bills, and never building or owning anything to amass any type of wealth. So I want you to not only think that, okay, what do I, in order to stay in this area, but build wealth, I either have to start a business, I have to start buying some real estate, or I have to start making a lot more money, because I don't want everyone as their mindset to be, my only way for me to win is that things have to come down. There has to be a crash, because if that never happens, you're still going to be in the same place you started in. So I believe we're all saying different things as to how you can make this work for yourself, but you have to move. Like my mom moved from New York because she knew, again, that she wasn't going to be able to afford something there in her occupation, and moved to Atlanta. And that was many, many years ago, and was able to buy a first house. She didn't buy her first house until she was in her 40s. I bought my first house at 23 because I saw her do it when she was in her 40s. But we have to make some moves that may be a little bit uncomfortable in order for us to move forward. Because when we look 20 years from now, we're going to be like, oh, we should have bought that $400,000 house. We should have bought that $350,000 house. Because, prices are not necessarily, prices went down. I did that whole video about when prices ever went down, but they go up way more than they go down. And it balances out. Were you gonna say something else, Kevin?
No, I wasn't. No.
All right. Stay off Instagram, y'all. Buy something y'all can afford. All right, I'm trying to go back up. Did you put your links in the chat, Kevin?
It wouldn't let me see in there. I clicked on it.
Put it in the
I
private
pasted it.
chat, and then the moderator can do it too. Yeah,
Yeah, I
you
put it
got it.
in
We see it in the
private.
private chat.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't mind, moderator, go ahead and put Kevin's link in the comments for us. All right, I'm gonna go back up.
Yeah, even though I put it in there, they can copy and paste it. That'll help me try to mess up anything.
Okay, Kevin, where's your mic?
Where is it?
Yeah, because it keeps on going in and out.
Right here in front of me.
In front of you. Okay, because I hear it going in and out a little bit. All right. So I'll let you answer this question. I'm going to get back organized with the chat. Can you get a mortgage with only 1 year of a tax return of $100K?
You can't. Couple reasons. Couple ways. If you're W-2, we don't need tax returns. If you're self-employed, let's say you're a truck driver, and in 2023, you were a truck driver and you were W-2, and then you switched to self-employed and you made $100,000 as self-employed because you have a history of working in that field, we can use that 1 year of tax returns to qualify you. We can also do something called a bank statement loan, which requires anywhere from 10 to 20% down. We take 12 months of your deposits into your bank account, and we calculate those, and we give you an income that we can utilize, and then you can purchase it that way. We got a P&L statement. There's so many ways to do it. You can do it. It's credit based also, so you need credit. Anything outside of doing it with FHA, VA, conventional USDA, no, there's no down payment assistance to help you with the bank statement loan or the other loan, but there are ways to do it if you have the capital.
Okay, good. You guys, I'm going through the chat and I'm trying to find as many questions specific to Kevin. Then I'm gonna answer just general real estate questions. So that's what I'm doing right now. So inspection questions, I'm not skipping you. I can answer those. I just want to get Kevin some lender questions as much as possible. So I'm going through really quickly. Go ahead.
While you're looking at make a statement.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey guys, if you're watching this live, it's something that I keep that I'm starting to run into, and it's no shade. We all run into problems. Cash App, Chime, and Green Dot is not banking.
Say it louder, Kevin. Say it louder.
It's not banking.
Okay.
No,
say it from the beginning louder. Cash App,
Green Dot, and Chime is not banking. Those are not things that you would have as bank accounts. I'm gonna tell you a couple reasons why. One, you have to wire your funds to closing. The attorney's office is not taking Cash App.
I'm not laughing at y'all.
If you use Green Dot or Chime, you can wire the funds, but it takes 3 to 5 days to get there. And if you need to get a transaction summary, which most of the time we do, you might get a bank statement, but if you need a transaction summary, they're going to take 3 to 5 days. And that's a rush. So if you have had what I'm running into, if you have had issues with banking before, and it's been years, go back and apply with a different bank and see, because that doesn't stay on your history forever. And then some banks are willing to take a risk on you. You should not be getting your paycheck on Cash App. You should not be getting your paycheck on Chime. You should not be getting your paycheck or getting it on Green Dot or some card. That it makes it difficult in the home buying process. And it's already a tedious process. And if you add extra layers and extra frustrations to it, it's going to take longer. So if you're in a situation where you have one of those accounts, go to a local bank, go to a big bank and ask, how can I establish and apply bank account first? And if you can't, say, okay, I didn't get approved here. What do I need to show you guys to get approved? A lot of times it's opening up a savings and showing that you saved, and then you're now the customer, and then a little bit later they'll let you open a bank account. But you just, get rid of those things. It's easy to do. I see the commercials all the time at night, and I'm like, man, this is where people get sucked in. Because the thing of it is, yes, you can get your check 2 days earlier, your money 2 days earlier, but I'm pretty sure it costs something. Like they're taking money. They're not just giving you money early in hopes that it comes in. So, a way to do different banking is to go to a bank if you had an issue or you use one of those. I'm not saying close those accounts, but don't let that be your main source where you get your direct deposit, because it's a nightmare for us and you.
Right, when it's time for you to buy. All right, so Kevin, Claudine wants to say thank you for helping me and my husband buy our first home. All right. Remember Claudine, Kevin?
Yours. Yeah, I remember yours. I remember yours. Great people. Thank you for allowing me to help you and your family, and thank you for the referral.
All right, great. And then another but for chair. Do you think interest rates will ever get down to 2021 levels?
Nah, like I've been here for 20 years. Nah, I don't think so. Nope, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, my grandmother never saw it. She was 80, 85 when that happened.
Unless another pandemic happens, when that gonna happen?
Yeah.
It's just going to be like, you guys, that was an opportunity. I know at some point in all of our lives, there are going to be some opportunities that come up in the financial space. I think the pandemic for a lot of, although it was very tragic for a lot of families, a lot of people, it also was an opportunity at that time. And a lot of people did take advantage of that opportunity and purchase real estate, invested, that sort of thing. I know in both of our lifetimes, we had the opportunity of the housing crisis. That was another, for a lot of people, opportunity. If you had money at that time, a lot of people didn't, but a lot of people invested during that time when prices were low. So there are always going to be highs and lows financially, but you have to have like some money on the side, right? Some kind of opportunity fund. So if something does happen, that might be an opportunity that you need to have. But waiting until rates get back to that, you'll be waiting for a long time, I think, especially with how much housing and demand for housing right now. There are a lot of people waiting on the sidelines. So let those interest rates get to the low sixes, high fives. Everybody's coming back in the woodwork and prices will go back up. I'm gonna let you in, Kevin. Kevin, what are interest rates like right now? And how can people reach you?
Gotcha. So interest rates, they're going to vary. I want to make sure I put that caveat out there. They're going to vary depending on program, and even location. But right now, what I'm seeing is in the last 2 weeks, I have seen interest rates start to creep down a little bit. So for conventional financing, you're still looking at maybe 7.25. You could get in the sixes, but you're going to have to pay a little bit to get in the sixes. In terms of FHA, VA, and USDA, I'm seeing mid sixes, low sixes. Actually, a guy went under contract, and I was shocked myself. I had to call the lock desk and find out if the rate was right. We were able to quote him at 5.875.
Oh, that's good.
And he wasn't buying down the rate. But it's because he had a low debt to income ratio, so he didn't use up all of his money to buy the house. He had assets and he had a higher credit score. But I have seen 5.875, but realistically, you're probably going to be in the low sixes on government stuff, and conventional sevens. You could get in the sixes, but it's all going to be relative.
Wow. How can they reach you, Kevin?
They can reach me. I put my email in the link below in the comments. That's one of the better ways to reach me. Are you able to put my Calendly link, or
if it's in the chat, whatever you put in the chat, we can put in there. Like in the private chat. If you put in the private chat, we can put it. But I will, people watching the replay or go back to this video, all of Kevin's things will be in the description of the video. Are you talking about that?
Yeah, in the description.
Yeah, it'll be in the description if it's not in the chat right now.
Yeah. I think there also needs to be a teaching about when to refinance a home because people are staying in their home till the duration of the mortgage. Um, yeah,
And
that's
Kevin,
true.
go ahead.
I was reading something that Monica Cooper put in the comments about
Okay.
refinancing. And that's a good point. In terms of refinancing, I don't know what lender you would use or you're going to use, but don't let them particularly sell you on saying, hey, just refinance, when rates drop. When you refinance when rates drop, if you're trying to pull cash out, you still need to qualify because you're refinancing the house over again. One of the differences is that you now own the home and you're financing it over, meaning most of the time you go back to a 30-year term or maybe a 10, 15, whatever you have left and refinance. So if you are buying now and rates are a little higher and you want to qualify to refinance when we see a rate drop, I would think twice of going out and buying a car because that may mess up your debt to income ratio. You can refinance through like a rate and term refinance when rates drop. It's going to be based off of, you don't get any cash out. It's going to be based off of your mortgage history. So you want to make sure that you stay on time on your mortgage. You can't be 30 days late. It's no way around it. They're not going to finance you on something that you were late on because, and so they're looking for you to have a good mortgage history. Most of the time when you're refinancing, you need to have owned the home for 210 days before you can refinance. 210 days. That's not a lender rule. That's a government rule and a conventional. So you just want to make sure that you follow those instructions and then just position yourself to be able to refinance and take advantage of the lower interest rates.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin and Kevin Jefferson. Kevin Jefferson, the people's lender on YouTube. And that link will be in the description as well. And get his books, both of them, and they're linked below. And then he's gonna have a winner. So make sure you use his links. I'll leave those links up a little bit longer as well, Kevin. I'll put them in the description. Okay.
Thank you, Shaheen. Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, it's just me and you. I'm going to get through as many questions as possible. I might go, this is like a special live. I'm doing it for 2 hours. So 7 to 9, I might go a little bit over if y'all have really good questions. So let's go. And don't forget to get my masterclass. It ends when this live ends, the promo code ends. The promo code is 200K. So in order to get the $20 off, the promo code is 200K. And you should be able to get it. And you can win a $200 gift card, Amazon gift card. The winner will be announced tomorrow. All right, so let me answer some of these questions. Jam Skid question. Thank you for the 200K. I appreciate it. Can you go over the difference between due diligence money and earnest money? How much to budget for and when are they due? Okay, so a lot of states don't have both. Let me say that. I believe North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, has both. So I'm going to ask you to ask a agent, but usually one is credited toward your, I don't want to answer it. Okay, I want to answer earnest money. And I'm going to talk about the due diligence period because most states don't have due diligence money. So the due diligence period is a time in which you can do your inspections on a home, typically, and you could terminate that contract for any reason and walk away, right? And get your earnest money back. But some states have you pay money just to have that due diligence period. That is not true of every state. For example, Georgia doesn't have a due diligence payment. So you need to check in your state, ask your lender, ask your agent, is there a due diligence payment that is due? Because that's not true of every state. So in Georgia, the due diligence, you have it in your contract. It's whatever you and the seller have agreed upon. So say, for example, you have a due diligence period of 7 days. You go under contract for a house for $200,000, for example. You have 7 days to do any inspections, look at the schools, drive through the neighborhood, look at the house again. And for any reason, you could terminate and walk away from that deal and still get your earnest money back if you terminate within that 7-day due diligence period. But again, the time is negotiable as far as, you know, what that due diligence period is. And I'm pretty sure if you do have a due diligence payment, that's also negotiable depending on your state. And then your earnest money is the amount that you put up, showing that with your contract, showing that you're a serious buyer. I don't know of many sellers that will accept a contract with no earnest money, meaning you have something to lose. If you walk away after that due diligence period, you have the potential to lose your earnest money. Let's have an example. You're under contract on a house. Your earnest money was $2,000. And you're just, you know, going through, you have your inspections, you have a closing date of August 1st. And you've done your inspections, those were fine. Your financing is going through fine, but you just change your mind. You don't want that house anymore. So that seller has potentially started moving out of that house. Maybe they put a down payment on another house because they're anticipating closing this house with you, right? And, you know, you decide the day before closing, I changed my mind, I don't want to buy it. They're in most cases entitled to that $2,000 in earnest money as damages. In most states, they're not allowed to sue you for any of like their moving expenses, any expense for taking their home off the market because they thought you were going to buy it. That's a lot of wasted time. They have to put their house now back on the market. They have to pay another mortgage payment that they didn't anticipate paying. So on the seller side, you want as much earnest money as possible. And on the buyer side, you want the least amount of earnest money possible because there's a potential loss of that earnest money. So earnest money, if they didn't have earnest money, people would just be putting contracts on houses and walking away, putting contracts on houses and walking away. Because there's an earnest money component, you have some skin in the game. You have some money that you may lose if you decide to walk away from this purchase. So that's the difference between earnest money and due diligence money. But due diligence money isn't always required. It's not always required in every state. Thank you for that question. And I do have how to get your earnest money back, or in my masterclass, I give you ways of not losing your earnest money. So get the masterclass and get it while it's on a discount. All right. I'm going back. All right. Kiera, have you found any benefit in the home warranty? Like I said, when I don't do this anymore because I just do different gifts, but I used to give all of my first-time home buyers home warranties. Either the seller would pay for it or I would pay for it if the seller would not pay for it. And the only reason that I would get it is so it would cover minor repairs. Because first-time home buyers, it's their first time purchasing a property. Even little things make them nervous and that sort of thing. So the home warranty was to give them a little bit of security. If there's something small that happens in their house during that first year, it would be covered. But I never told them, hey, if something happens to your air conditioning unit and it just goes out, the chances of them covering it is low. And that's what people need to realize with home warranties. Home warranties have so many stipulations in the warranty. It's not, if a home warranty costs $700, they're not going to cover a lot of times something that costs $3,000, $5,000, $6,000. They wouldn't make a profit. So you really have to read the fine print on home warranties. I always say that typically they cover small repairs that are not very expensive. They also have deductibles. So if you didn't catch Tamika at the beginning of this, that home warranty, when her oven went out, they fixed the oven, but I believe she had at least $100 probably deductible for every repair. So a lot of them have deductibles. So you're not giving it like 100% free either. But don't count on home warranties as covering major expenses in your home. Think of it more for minor things. And also as buyers, never take a home warranty in lieu of repairs, because some sellers are quick to say, well, just give them a home warranty. The air conditioner not working. Well, we'll fix it and then give them a home warranty. And then it goes out for good and the whole thing needs to be replaced. And you think the home warranty is going to replace it, and it's not in most cases. So that's my answer on home warranties. They don't cover big things for the most part. Read the reviews and you kind of can see what I mean. All right. I'm going out. And I'm sorry, I'm going probably back to 7 o'clock, because I don't want people that ask questions earlier to get missed. But thank you for joining me. Make sure you're getting my masterclass. I'm going through the questions. Somebody asked, good evening, is the masterclass only digital? There is a hard copy as well, but it's digital. So the hard copy, you have to print it. So nothing's going to be mailed to you, but there are 9 steps in the masterclass. So you get a printout and checklist for everything in those 9 steps. And there's videos for each step. So in the appraisal part, I'm going to give you a sample appraisal report, and I'm going to explain what that looks like and what to do in video form. Then I'm going to give you a checklist and, a sample appraisal. I'm going to give you a sample inspection report. So everything that you're going to see in the home buying process, I'm going to have a video. I'm going to have a video for and a document for. So when lenders tell you, well, I don't do worksheets or estimates, I have a sample of what the estimate should look like that I've gotten from lenders over the years. All right, good question. Louisiana asked, you said you were sent a link to watch videos and the masterclass as PDF, example, self-taught. Good, thank you. All right, we talked about interest rates. All right, let's get this question. My closing is in a couple of days. This is pretty MA. My closing is in a couple of days and I'm using down payment assistance, but my monthly mortgage is very high and I'm thinking of walking away from the deal, but I'm scared I might lose my earnest money. All right, this is a reasonable fear. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit, pretty MA. All right. And this is a hard one. Number one, I like you to avoid this. And I'm going to keep on plugging this masterclass, because in the masterclass, I tell you have to get a loan estimate ahead of time. This is a big mistake that I see a lot of first-time home buyers making, is that they don't get a loan estimate until they're under contract. And then they're usually surprised. They thought it was going to be one amount, their monthly payment, and then it's actually another amount because they don't get their loan estimate until they're under contract. So imagine all this time you're looking for a house, you thought your payment was going to be, $2,000. And then when you get under contract, and now because by law, they have to give you a loan estimate within 3 days of pretty much going under contract, then they're going to tell you it's really going to cost, and maybe it's $2,800. And now you're like, oh, I didn't expect this. I didn't know it was going to be this much. You have to get these loan estimates at time of approval. And I've been saying this probably for the last 5 years. I want you to get a loan estimate at time of approval. If that lender will not give you one, walk away, because you don't need to be surprised. And what usually happens is they're like, you can do it, no problem. Get the house. You could, you could refinance later. And I do have a video about refinancing later, so watch that. But I want you to be very, definitely get your loan estimates as time of approval. And I explain that, and I give you examples of FHA, a VA, and a conventional loan estimate, so you know what you should be getting. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know how much earnest money you have, right? But so say your earnest money is $5,000, but your mortgage payment is, you're uncomfortable with it because it's maybe $500 more than what you anticipated and you're comfortable with, then you're pretty much going to break even after 10 months, just for an example of the money you're going to lose. Now, are you definitely going to lose your earnest money? I want you, because sometimes this earnest money is significant. A lot of builders, some, are asking for 10% of the home price, that sort of thing. If it's significant, if it's a lot of money, I want you to get a lawyer consultation so they can tell you, are you truly out? Because sometimes your agent can't, give you legal advice. But if you do, like, instead of doing a full hour, maybe do a 30-minute consultation with an attorney and say, okay, this is my contract. I'm thinking about walking away. Will I definitely lose my earnest money? I want you to ask, because sometimes builders may give your earnest money back to you. Some states, they have to sue you and they don't want to do that to get your earnest money back. There are a lot of variables, but a lawyer can help you know definitively if it's worth it for you to, walk away, or should you fight to try to get your earnest money back? Like, do you have a case? Do you have any ground to stand on if you, to try to get your earnest money? The other thing is you have to think long-term. Buying this house, you're paying closing costs. I'm sure you're going to pay other things. if the earnest money is not that, if it's not going to hurt you as far as financially, what's going to hurt you more, buying the house or losing the earnest money? If you're definitely going to lose it, you have to look at it that way and, figure out, does it make sense to walk away? Don't feel so much pressure to not walk away. And let me say this too. Sometimes the agents will say that you may be liable for their commissions, which in some states are true. You want to look at that as well. If you walk away, are you going to be liable for the seller's commission or if you have a buyer's agent, their commission? Check that out first. A lot of times their brokerages have to sue you, and they typically don't do that, but they could. So you want to think of the big picture. But the main thing is which one is most financially detrimental to you, losing the earnest money or buying the house? Okay. Because a lot of times the earnest money is all you could lose. But, if you're buying a house that's way more expensive than you're comfortable with, that could be a longer financial, like if you're going to be in foreclosure in 2 years or 3 years, or if you can't sell the house because you're upside down, then it may make sense just to walk away and risk losing the earnest money. All right, good question. All right, I'm trying to go through all of this. All right, trying to purchase, but the click buy now button just refreshes. No, you shouldn't have to create an account. It should be a pretty easy checkout process. So hopefully it's working now. If you're having problems purchasing, put that in the chat and the moderator could help you. All right, we answered that. What is your take on paying off a mortgage? Is there truly a tax benefit to keeping a mortgage? So I have a video about the tax benefits of mortgages. So please watch that video. And anything, it's easier to search videos on the desktop than your phone. But if you just put in tax on my channel, that video should come up. So you do get an interest rate deduction when you file your taxes, but you have to be itemizing. And that's a big part of it. Used to be that the standard deduction was so low that a lot of people that owned homes would itemize and try to get, all that interest rate deduction. But now a lot of people have low interest rates and the standard deduction is so much higher, it doesn't make sense to itemize for a lot of people. And that's why the home interest deduction is not as significant as it used to be. So I believe it's when Donald Trump came into office, a lot of his tax cuts, not tax cuts, but tax changes increased the standard deduction for most people. So I guess it could be like a tax cut. It increased the standard deduction for most people. So it made your interest deduction less advantageous, I guess, right? So check with your accountant. The other reason a lot of people say don't, so it may not be worth keeping just for tax purposes, but the other reason people say, you may not want to pay off your mortgage, if you have a 2% mortgage or a 3% mortgage or even a 4% mortgage, and then investing your money would get you potentially 10%. That's what the stock market average is. It may not be worth it for you to pay off your mortgage with the extra money. It may be more worth it for you to invest that extra money. Those are the reasons that some people say don't pay it off. Some people just, however, want the peace of mind that their house is paid off, regardless of the difference of investment. So I have a video about paying off your house in 8 years. Watch that video because I explain both sides. But that's the argument of, should you pay off your mortgage early or should you not? Is more because, depending on your interest rate, it may make sense just pay your mortgage and invest anything extra. All right, good question. All right, I am looking now. Hopefully I see it. Where a lot of things on affordability. That's good. Y'all are kind of talking to one another. I'm trying to find it. But thank you so much, you guys, everybody, for supporting me, helping me get to 200K. I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't liked this live, please like the live stream. I would appreciate that as well. Let me see. All right, good. All right, I think I want to put this. Kevin is fabulous. If you need a mortgage, help get Blair. All right, I think I went out for a second. All right, let's see. I'm looking. I don't see a lot of questions. Kevin's contact information will be in the description of this video if it's not in the chat. But if you do Kevin Jefferson, the People's Lender, it should come up in YouTube, and his YouTube channel is there as well. So let's do that, and his links. I had to put this on here. It says Cash App, Green Dot, and Chime are not banking. Yeah, that's a great quote. I'm gonna have to do like a YouTube short on that. But good question. All right, let's answer this. It's a good one. Why do lenders push for FHA if I qualify for conventional? And this is a good question to answer, because the reasons are usually this, that FHA generally has a lower interest rate than conventional. So when Kevin was talking about conventional rates, he was like, oh, it's probably at about 7%. And then the FHA is like low 6s. So and FHA just had a change where their mortgage insurance is not as expensive as it used to be. They were trying to help at least a little bit with affordability. Now the interest rates are higher and home prices are higher. They reduced the amount of mortgage insurance for new buyers. So if you have mortgage insurance, FHA, they're not going to reduce it. But for new buyers, they decrease the amount of mortgage insurance you pay. So it may, even though you get the major advantage of conventional financing is that you can avoid paying mortgage insurance once you have 20% equity in your house. And one of the disadvantages of FHA is you're going to pay mortgage insurance for the life of the loan, unless you put at least over 10% down. So now that those changes have been made to FHA, number one, the FHA interest rate is lower, and the mortgage insurance is not as expensive as it used to be. So even if you qualify for conventional, it may make more sense for you to do FHA over the long term. But what you should do, remember I said those loan estimates, Ms. Roberts, you should ask them for FHA estimate on the same property. And this is another thing that lenders say, well, I can't give you an estimate until I have an address. Get an address off of Zillow, go to a neighborhood that you want to live in and say, give it to me if I was to buy this house, right? And they may not give you multiple, just do one, because if you know pretty much where you want to live, they can estimate the taxes and that sort of thing with that address. And then tell them to give you a loan estimate for FHA and a loan estimate for conventional. And when you get that, you can compare it for yourself. Initially, the FHA should be less expensive than the conventional unless you're putting 20% down, right? And then you have to see, okay, the savings that I'm making, and then how long before I get rid of my PMI for conventional, which one makes the most sense? But if you don't have those loan estimates, you may not know. But that's the reason why some lenders are pushing FHA over conventional if you're not putting at least 20% down, because money wise and long term, it may make more sense. The conventional interest rate and the FHA interest rate are not the same. Okay. And they're not the same with every lender. Don't let them tell you that either. Good question. Get my masterclass too. All right, let's see. I'm going through these questions. Brown Sugar. Do lenders include car payments in the DTI if you are 6 months of paying it off? They shouldn't. I believe the rule is 10 months. This should have been a question for Kevin, but I believe the rule is if you have less than 10 months of car payments left, they should not include it in your debt to income ratio. If you're watching this and you don't know what a debt to income ratio is, then I have a video. It says, can you afford a house? And I explain what a debt to income ratio is. But usually it's 10 months or less that, that would count. I think, Kevin, I want to say something about refinancing. So it doesn't always make sense to refinance, and you have to make sure it makes sense before you start the process. So watch my video when it makes sense to refinance. There's only a couple of times that it makes sense. So if you're like say you're at a 7% interest rate and rates go to 6.5, doesn't make sense to refinance. The cost, refinancing is not free. Even a lot of lenders are having promotions saying that, okay, when you buy your home with me, I'll let you refinance for free. Check the fine print on all of that up front. because they're going to make money somewhere, and usually it's not free. So make sure you understand what it means to refinance. So watch that video. I kind of break it down when it makes sense for you to refinance. All right, good questions. All right, move. Okay, I'm going to put Sammy smoking. I'm not going to show that on there. What are we congratulating for? Because hopefully, because I made it to 200,000 subscribers. So I'm like the number one, I guess, first time home buyer channel. And I think I'm the number two, like real estate, like just a real estate agent channel in general. I know Christina Smallhorn is at almost 300,000 subscribers, but subscribers in general that just for like a real estate agent channel, not like an investing, bigger pockets or something like that. I'm probably the number two. For first-time home buyers, I'm definitely number one. So I'm really excited and celebrating with you guys that I'm at 200K. But good question. All right. Let's see. Cross says, even with low interest rates, many people are still losing their homes. Is there a reason why? Did people get into housing markets they can't afford? There's a couple of reasons. And I'm not sure they're actually losing their homes because a lot of people can sell their home. So if you bought in 2020 in most markets, if you bought in 2020, 2021, even 2022, before they started raising interest rates, you should have equity in your home. Like I've had people sell that bought in the pandemic, 2020, 2021, 2022, and they've walked away with hundreds, like six figures in equity. So most people have equity that bought at that time. However, a lot of people have found, say they bought that house for 300,000 during that time, and now it's worth 500,000. Their insurance has probably increased and their taxes have probably increased during that time. And sometimes if they were buying, that's why you shouldn't buy up to your max. If Kevin says you qualify for 300,000, you need to put that down to 270, 250, because if you buy up into your max, then any increases in taxes, any increases in insurance, now you can't afford the house, really anymore. So you have to be really conservative in what you are purchasing, because you can't have increases in taxes and insurance. So a lot of people who feel like they can no longer afford their home probably bought at the top of their budget, and taxes and insurance have increased. So I did that video about, people cannot afford their homes anymore. They probably still can sell and walk away with that equity, but that monthly payment may be a strain on them if they bought up to their budget during the pandemic. Good question. So buy conservatively when you buy your house. All right. Is this a question? I looked at an older wooden home in a good area. It's a 3-2 front and backyard. They're asking 250. By this being a wooden home, I'm concerned of termites. So any house, pretty much the frame is going to be wood. So it's not like, just wood homes have termites. A brick home can have termites as well. So you just want to make sure you get a termite inspection during your due diligence period or before closing, and put that in your contract that you need a clear termite letter prior to closing. Try to push it up like 14 days before closing. You want that clear termite letter if you don't get it during the due diligence period. Okay, good question. S. Murphy says, who decides how much the earnest money is? This is a very good question. The buyer decides. So in your contract, and I have a sample contract in my masterclass, and I go over each section with you. In the contract, they're going to ask you how much earnest money you want to put down. A good rule of thumb for most agents is 1%. So if the house is $300,000, you would offer earnest money around $3,000. Okay. But you can decide any amount that you want. But again, the higher the earnest money, basically the seller wants something that would be painful for you to walk away from. If you looked at that earlier question, somebody said, I'm thinking about terminating my contract, but I don't want to lose my earnest money. So they're having second thoughts. If his earnest money was $500, he probably I'm terminating my contract. I don't care about this earnest money, right? But if his earnest money is $10,000, he may think, okay, do I want to lose that $10,000? So on the seller side, they want something that is a little bit painful for the buyer. If they were to walk away, they're going to lose that money. And they want to be able to pay their bills. So I usually want, on the seller side, I want at least 1%, if not more. I want enough for them to pay their mortgage. If they started paying for moving expenses, I want them to get that money back. So I'm looking for at least 1%. But if I'm representing a buyer, I'm like, if I can get away with getting less than 1%, I'm going to do it. And it really depends on, if they have no other offers, I'm going to try to come in a little bit lower than 1%. Because if my client decides to walk away, I don't want them to lose that much money. All right, great. All right, thank you. Thank you for all the purchases. I will announce who wins the $200 in my Facebook group and on the community page tomorrow. Okay, somebody says, analyze that. Hi, if I want to close around the end of January, should I start the hunting process now? So we have end of January. I usually say 3 to 4 months. So I would say you should probably start the pre-approval process if you haven't already, because you got August, September, October, November, December. You have about 5 months. If you've never gotten pre-approved before, you may find some things that you weren't expecting. You may not get a pre-approved for as much as you thought, that sort of thing. So I want you to start getting pre-approved, no later than September, and then, start the process after that. Sometimes it takes you about 3 months or so to find a house. Say the average home price in your state is $700,000 and your budget is $500,000. It's going to take you longer to find a property because you're buying below the average, right? So I want you, if you are below the average in your state, then I want you to prepare a little bit longer. That might take you a little bit longer to find something, okay? Go back. If you weren't with me since the beginning, I want you to go back and watch the $97,000 house. Like, we had to hustle out there every single day to try to find something. All right, good question. Clark the Real says, purchase Aida's masterclass is a must-have. I appreciate it. You're a realtor, so I really do appreciate that. All right, let's see. Okay, do you have any thoughts on NACA if you don't qualify as a priority member? All right, Wyatt. So I think NACA is a good program, but you need to have a backup to it. And I say that because, and I've done several videos on NACA, so you can just search NACA on my channel. But let's talk about the priority and non-priority. If you are above a certain income level, and I believe this is still the case, then you cannot buy everywhere. So NACA does not have a income level, but it does have you can say you make $200,000 a year, and the NACA priority is like people that make under $70,000 a year. Then the people that are making above that amount cannot buy anywhere. They only can buy in like higher needs areas. Okay. So if that's something, if you want to make that investment or use NACA, the benefit of NACA is it's no down payment. It's no closing costs. It's typically a lower interest rate. There's no PMI. There's no mortgage insurance with NACA. So there are a lot of benefits with NACA, but they're trying to help people that are not like, earning above what's average. So if the average in your area is people are making $80,000 and you're making $150,000, you really don't need NACA necessarily. So they're trying to, incentivize those people to buy in areas that need revitalization. So if that's something that you want to do and you want to revitalize, maybe you see an area that's going through gentrification and that sort of thing, then that's something you can do. But otherwise, if you're making, usually if you're making more money, you have more opportunities. So, it just depends. A lot of people that are not priority members may buy multifamily in those areas, and that, to create some more wealth. So I'm fine with it, but, it just depends. It's an individual decision to make. And you have to see what areas they are making you move to. All right, good questions. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's see. I'll let Dr. Dre, I'm going to, because you have more lender questions, I'll let you send Kevin that email, because what he was saying, I'll click on real quick. He said, I was injured and on disability for about 1.5 years, and I got a settlement and I want to buy a house. A lot of times you have to be employed for at least 2 years. I've had people to ask me, I was on workers' comp. Will that count? You know, they want to see employment typically for at least 2 years in order for you to get like a regular mortgage. It does not have to be at the same company, however. So you could have switched companies, but it can't be, oh, I was a teacher for 1 year. Now I'm an Uber driver for 1 year and I want to buy a house. You're going to have to work Uber because Uber is like a 1099. You're pretty much self-employed. You're going to have to do that for 2 years before you qualify. Okay. So just be mindful. If you're changing from like a W-2 to a 1099, then you're going to have 2 years of that 1099 in order to qualify. Because a lot of people have gone from, oh, I used to work here, now I'm self-employed. You're going to have to wait 2 years. The only exception to that typically is if you're coming out of college. If you're coming out of college, you can buy a house as long as you're employed. You can buy a house right out of college because they will use your years of college as employment. So you can buy right out of college. Thank you so much. This is a very good question. Goldie's daughter says, am I considered a first-time home buyer if I inherited and sold a home I did not live in? This is maybe because you never actually purchased a house. So it's going to depend on the program. I'm going to say for most programs, you would qualify because you've never actually owned a house. But some programs, they will look up if you've ever had a title or deed in your name. So it really depends on the program. So ask for the programs in your state. Okay. I appreciate it. Hey, Robert, what's up? I think you're in California and bought a house probably 2 years ago. Thank you for joining me for my 200K. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Kevin answered the car question. The question was, will the car payment count towards your debt to income ratio if it's about to be paid off? And he said 10 months or less, but if the payment is more than 5% of your monthly income, we still need to include it. There's a little caveat to that, to my 10 months. So good job. All right, let's see. Thank you so much. A lot of people are purchasing, which is good. Again, I'm going to announce the winner. I'm looking for more questions. I'm all caught up, you guys, because I'm at question at like 8 o'clock or 8:45. I think I answered this, but I'm answering again. It says, what is the purpose of 20% down on FHA or conventional? There's really no purpose. Well, there's a small purpose. If you put 20% down on an FHA loan, one, you're going to have a lower monthly payment, right? But also you're going to have mortgage insurance, but you're only going to have it for 10 years. Okay. Or 11 years. You're going to have mortgage insurance for 11 years. If you put less than 10% down on FHA, you have mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. It will decrease as you pay off your loan because mortgage insurance is a percentage of the loan balance. So as your loan balance decreases, your mortgage insurance will also decrease, but you will have it for the life of the loan. For conventional, if you put 20% down, then you don't have to pay mortgage insurance. And in some cases, you do not have to escrow your taxes and your insurance, depending on the lender. You may not have to pay the taxes and insurance with your mortgage payment. So those are some of the benefits. But again, you need to be getting a loan estimate at time of approval and see what makes sense. Tell them, let me see what it looks like with 20% down. Let me see what it looks like, with different down payment amounts to see what makes sense for you. But that's the main reason people put 20% down. But you have to think of the opportunity cost. Once you put that 20% down, you're not going to get it back unless you sell, cash out, refinance, those types of things. That money is gone. So what if you have the option to put down less, you have to think about what could I have done with that money. So say you're about to put $50,000 down on a house that's like $250,000. You're putting 20% down. You could have put like $5,000 down or something like that. What could you have done with that other $45,000, right? So you have to kind of think those things through because you're doing it to save like a couple of, sometimes less than $100 a month. All right, good question. Is it safe to apply for tax exemptions to help with the tax increase? Yes. So some states offer, or some like your county, your city will exempt you from taxes depending on like several scenarios. The most common is seniors. So seniors, depending on where you live, you know, sometimes they consider a senior 62 years old, 65 years old. You'll be exempt from some of your property taxes because they know as people age, they don't usually, their income doesn't increase. Their income is usually fixed in retirement. So they don't want them to be paying so much. So usually you're going to be exempt. If not, you know, your taxes are going to be reduced. And then you also get a tax exemption, or not that you don't have to pay any taxes, a tax reduction if it's your primary residence. So if this is the house that you live in, a lot of times you can apply for a tax exemption for that. So, you know, look in your state and your city, your county, and say, are there any tax exemptions that you qualify for? You want to look at that. Somebody asked, what is private mortgage insurance? So, and I know I've been talking about this. I do have videos on this as well, but let me make it as easy as possible. When you put less than 20% down, that's a higher risk to the lender. Okay. It's a higher risk because you don't have that much equity in the house. So if you were to foreclose, they may not be able to get all their money back when they sell it. So they make you pay like an insurance policy if you put less than 20% down and you foreclose. It's to protect the lenders. Nothing really going to protect you. It's still going to be on your credit as a foreclosure, that sort of thing, but it's protecting them because if you do foreclose, then they may be out of money because they're not able to sell it for what they thought they were going to sell it for, since you don't have any equity or you don't have as much equity in that house. But good question. And private mortgage insurance is for conventional loans. Mortgage insurance is for FHA and USDA. VA loans, like for people that served in the military or currently serve in the military, they don't have mortgage insurance. All right, thank you guys. I'm still looking. Any other question? Thank you. I think I answered a lot, you guys. Let's see. Ty says, if you own a house, how long do you have to be moved out of the house to qualify again for favorable financing versus second home financing? That's more of a Kevin question, but I believe you have to prove what you're doing with that first house to get approved for owner occupant financing. I think that's what you're saying. You don't want to see it, the lender to see it as a second home you're buying. You want them to see it as a owner occupant home you're buying. And there's a few rules. It really depends on how far you're moving away from that first house. And also, is that first house rented? They want to know, in order to get favorable financing, they want to know that you're going to own or occupy house number 2. And usually the only way they know that is if the first one is being rented, you've been relocated, maybe you lived in Arizona, now you're moving to Texas, and they know you can't own or occupy both places. So you're really asking, how can you get owner occupant financing and have 2 houses? Kevin can tell you all of those rules, but you have to show them that you're going to own or occupy house number 2. If you don't have anybody living in house number 2, or you are, or say that house number 1 is like 5 bedrooms, 2 baths, and then you go buy house number 2 and it's 2 bedroom, 1 bath on the beach, they're going to assume that's an investment property anyway, and you may not be able to qualify for owner occupancy financing. They want to think that you are going to own or occupy house number 2. All right, but that's a question. If you want more detail, you can email Kevin. The code for the masterclass it should be scrolling around the bottom, but it's 200K. So 200K, and we're almost off. I'm trying to get all your questions. That's the promo code. All right, gotcha. Put that in there. All right, good. What's the best way to find a realtor if I don't know anyone? I put this in the masterclass too. I think number 1, you ask people that already have homes. And that could be people at your job, that could be family members, that sort of thing. If you know people that have owned a house, a lot of them probably use a realtor. So you need to go that route first. The second thing are people that have closed properties in the neighborhood that you're thinking about buying in. And you can see that through their signs and that sort of thing that are up. Also Google reviews. So if you put in, say you're in Austin, Texas realtors, a lot of things are going to come up there. And I would look at their social media. So like when I started 5 years ago, y'all, 5 years ago, I started this channel. It was just Atlanta content. I didn't have any, it wasn't until my 30th video that I started doing more national general things. So at first, you know, go back to the beginning of this, my Tamika, I started off with her because she was my first client that found me on YouTube. And YouTube specifically allows you to get to know people. You know, you can watch their videos, they go live with you. So I like that versus sometimes Instagram and TikTok are more entertainment. You want to find somebody that knows what they're talking about, that has shown you what they've done before and what they've done for other people and that sort of thing. And sometimes YouTube allows you to put a little bit more detail in your videos, a little more detail in your live streams, that sort of thing. So if you could find somebody that, you know, family and friends, because, you know they've closed with these people before and they have firsthand experience. If not, I like YouTube as the next option. And I want you to watch several YouTubers that serve your area. And then maybe you can make a decision from there. Okay. Good question though. All right. How do I find out what my real score is and my mortgage score? Get pre-approved. That's number one. That can be easily how you can find out. They're going to give you all your credit scores. If you don't want to get pre-approved yet, then my FICO is a good starting point for you. That's the most accurate. It's going to cost you money, but my FICO generally, from everybody in my Facebook group and just everything I've heard, those have been the most accurate credit scores to what your mortgage score is going to be. Oh, somebody already said it. Somebody said my FICO app is great. All right, good. Yes. So if you're not on Facebook, I'm going to email you and let you know that you won as well. So yes, the answer is yes. Yes. Okay, she answered that question. Great. I said the promo code. I think I'm at the end, y'all. How long should you wait to sell your first home? It depends on what you're doing with that first home. But by law or by mortgage law, you've agreed when you sign all those papers at closing, you've typically agreed to owner occupy that house for at least 1 year. Again, they're trying to avoid people using these houses as like flippers and investing, especially FHA. This doesn't apply to what does apply to conventional. If you use an owner occupied mortgage, if you told them at closing you were going to owner occupy that house, the expectation is that you're going to owner occupy that house for at least 1 year. That's what you signed. That's what you agreed to. So you need to at least live in that house for a year, so it won't be any like fraudulent activity, right? But then after that, you could sell it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And, but remember, in order to avoid capital gains, then you have to live in that house at least 2 of the last 5 years. Okay. So just know that. Good question. All right. Thank you, Dr. Dre. Everybody else. Let's see. Let's say, sort aside, how long should you wait to apply for grants or housing assistance before you buy or close on a house? All right. So number one, I did a live about down payment assistance where I answered this. So I'm going to try to answer it as clear as possible because a lot of people get this confused. It says, so the question is, how long should you wait to apply for grants or housing assistance before you buy or close on a house? A lot of times when you apply for down payment assistance, you are actually doing a pre-approval because if you're doing like state, city, county down payment assistance programs, they usually don't administer the down payment assistance from that state or city. They go to lenders and they say, lender, I want you to be able to use the program that we have. And so they approve lenders to give out their down payment assistance. They're usually called approved lenders or, their approved lender list. So a lot of times you're going to the lender first And that lender is going to say, I have to pre-approve you to see if you qualify for the down payment assistance. Okay. So for example, go back and watch Tamika. She was my first guest, my first YouTube buyer. In order for her to get the grant, she got a $15,000 grant. She didn't have to do an application for the grant with the state, but it was a state program. She had to find a state approved lender for that. It's called the Georgia Dream Program. So she had to find a lender that was approved to do the Georgia Dream Program. She had to do a pre-approval with them. And then they qualified her not only for the mortgage, but also for the down payment assistance. So if you want to buy a house, I want you to start now and research the down payment assistance programs that you may qualify for in your state and what are the requirements for you. You do that first, because if the first thing you do is go straight to the lender, a lot of lenders that aren't approved lenders with the down payment assistance program will say you don't qualify for down payment assistance because they're not an approved lender with some of those programs. So you have to do your research first. And in that live that I did, I had a link that tells you all of the down payment assistance programs in your state. So watch that. But that's how you kind of have to navigate it. You have to research the programs first, a lot of times, and then see who are the preferred lenders or approved lenders for that program. And then you could also ask, lenders, do you have any lender specific programs that I may qualify for? So I hope that makes sense. Please watch that video about down payment. I have a whole down payment assistance playlist, so watch that. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're past our 9 o'clock. I stayed for 2 hours. I'm going to start doing these lives more often. And some of them are going to be about personal finance because we got to get our money together. And some of these are going to be about buying your first house. So every Thursday, join me. Typically, they're at 7 o'clock for 1 hour. But Thursday, join me live. Thank you for 200K. Hopefully, I'll get to 1 million one day. Thank you, everyone that purchased the masterclass. I really appreciate it. And good luck to all of you on the $200 gift card. Bye. Have a good night.